The Blackbeard Pirates are the central antagonist of One Piece, and yet there's probably a lot of details you don't know or don't remember about them, such as their backstories, their official bounties, their ages, all of their Dao fruits, and a lot of other details. So I created this comprehensive guide to tell you everything you need to know about this infamous pirate crew, as well as all the information you need to know about Sword, Garp, and the Rocky Port incident. So the Blackbeard Pirates are commanded by, of course, Blackbeard, who rules under the title of Teitoku, or Admiral, leading as captain of the crew's main ship, known as the Saber of Xebec, which no doubt has some connection to the legendary pirate of the same name who once made base on the island of Hachinosu. The crew then has 10 another ships, which are commanded by the 10 Titanic captains, the commanders that form this fleet, on top of course several subordinate crews much like other Yonko. Tish himself grew up somewhere in the Grand Line where he allegedly had a painful and lonely childhood, according to the Viver cards, and has been biding his time lurking in the shadows and not showing his true strength to enact his plans into motion. He originally had a 0 belly bounty before becoming a Shichibukai, and this isn't metaphorical, it was literally 0 since the government was unable to assess his strength, which has since then risen to the current 3.996 million belly bounty. Japanese fans have noted how his current bounty can technically be read in Japanese as Sankokoro, which can mean 3 souls, which could tie into a lot of theories that the 3 skulls on his flag represent the 3 souls that let Blackbeard not sleep and eat multiple fruits, but of course that's all still speculation. The captain of the first ship is Champion Jesus Burgess, who serves as the helmsman of the crew. He is from the Grand Line and currently 29 years old, and has eaten the Riki Riki no Mi, or strength fruit, which appears to give him incredible physical strength. He originally had a 20 million belly bounty during his first appearance, but it has since increased to an unknown amount post-time skip. The captain of the second ship is Shiryu of the Rain, former head jailer of Impel Down. He is from the Grand Line and currently 44 years old, and has eaten the Suke Suke no Mi, or clear fruit, after the crew killed Absalom and stole his fruit when he infiltrated Hachinosu. Just like Absalom, this fruit allows Shiryu to turn himself and any items he wants to invisible. He also wields a sword called Ryu, or Thunderstorm, hence his epithet of the Rain. This sword is a graded Meito blade of a yet unknown rank, just like Zora's swords. The captain of the third ship is Supersonic Van Augur, who serves as the sniper of the crew, being so incredibly skilled he was able to shoot birds from islands away as early as Jaya. He wields a long-distance precision rifle called the Senriku, or Thousand Lands if translated. He is from the East Blue and currently 27 years old, the youngest in the crew in fact, and has eaten the Wapu Wapu no Mi, or Warp fruit, which allows him to teleport around pretty freely. He had a 64 million belly bounty as of his introduction, but his current post-time skip amount is unknown. The captain of the fourth ship is Corrupt King Avalo Pizarro, who was formerly a king of a country in North Blue that was overthrown by his people for his despotic nature. He tends to add nya or meow to the end of his sentences, likely because of his large cat-like whiskers. He is currently 42 years old and has eaten the Shima Shima no Mi, or Island fruit, making him an island human and seemingly allowing him to fuse together with an island and control it at will. This fruit seems very similar to Pika's Ishi Shinomi, or Stone fruit, but with the cost of not being able to manipulate stone, he appears to have easier control over any island in general. The captain of the fifth ship is Oni Sheriff Laffitte, who serves as both the navigator and chief of staff of the Blackbeard Pirates. He was originally a sheriff from West Blue who was exiled due to his horrible accounts of police brutality, hence his epithet, for which he has earned a 42 million belly bounty, though his current amount is unknown. He is currently 41 years old and appears to have a fruit that allows him to sprout large white wings in place of his arms. However, he's only been seen like this once, and we don't yet have confirmation of what his fruit really is, whether it's a mythical angel or some sort of bird zoan. We don't really know, so we'll have to wait to know for sure. The captain of the 6th ship is Crescent Moon hunter Catarina Devon, who is referred to by Ivankov as being known as the most evil woman in pirate history, hunting down beautiful women to take their heads as trophies for her personal collection, which she claims is a pursuit of beauty. She is currently 36 years old and from the South Blue, and has eaten the Inuinomi model Kyubi no Kitsune, a mythological zoan that lets her transform into the legendary nine-tailed fox of Japanese folklore, said to be capable of taking the appearance of anyone, thus allowing her to change her appearance to that of other people. This fruit seems to be a better version of Mr. 2's Mane Mane no Mi, or Copy Copy fruit, as Devon can even instantly change her clothes with this power. She is also said to fight with a whip. The captain of the 7th ship is colossal battleship Sanjuan Wolf. He is currently 99 years old, as he is a member of the giant race, which live triple as long as humans, which would put him somewhere around 33 human years. This was already explained in the viewer card databook, but Sanjuan Wolf is a normal giant from a giant village in West Blue who has eaten a Dalo fruit that allows him to become gigantic. This fruit would already make a normal person massive, but it makes Wolf even more colossal as a giant. In this chapter we get the name being the Deka Deka no Mi, or quite literally big fruit, which allows the user to become bigger, with Sanjuan Wolf particularly reaching heights of up to 180 meters. The captain of the 8th ship is heavy drinker Vasco Shot, who is stated to be one of the most vicious members of the crew, having been imprisoned for the sheer brutality of his crimes. He is currently 38 years old and was revealed in this chapter to have eaten the Gabu Gabu no Mi, or Glug Glug fruit, which as described makes him a sake human, or more literally an alcohol human. It's not clear to which extent this fruit works, whether it's a Logia or a Parmesia, but Vasco Shot hinted at being able to burn down the city, which he likely would do by spreading his alcohol and setting it on fire. Finally, the captain of the 9th ship is Shinigami Doc Q, also translated as the Grim Reaper, who is the doctor of the crew. Having had a frail body and health since his childhood in North Blue, you may be surprised to hear that he is actually only 28 years old. He has eaten the Shiku Shiku no Mi, or Sick fruit, which allows him to inflict diseases of several types onto his opponents, like the feminization disease he did with Law. As of his appearance, he had a 72 million belly bounty, actually the highest of his crew at the time, though of course, just like everyone else in the crew, his current increase after the time skip is unknown. He's also always joined by his horse Stronger, who is as sickly as him. Stronger has also eaten a fruit, the mythical zoan Uma Uma no Mi model Pegasus, allowing him to become a winged Pegasus and thus letting those who ride him fly through the skies. As for the captain of the 10th ship, it hasn't been officially confirmed yet who this mysterious person is. However, by the way we see them acting in this chapter, I think it's fair to say this position is almost certainly held by Kuzan, who has joined the Blackbeard Pirates to become one of Teach's close confidants. It is obvious that Kuzan has some deeper motives, as he told Smoker that he's still himself, and likely has some large master plan for joining the Blackbeard Pirates. Teach is likely aware of this too, as he told Burgess that he doesn't quite fully trust him either, but feels he can get some use out of him, so he's willing to let him act on his crew for the moment being. Now knowing about all 10 Titanic captains, we can actually locate where each of them is currently, which will allow us to find out just who exactly are the ones going to Egghead. As we see in this chapter, currently at Hachinosu appear to be Shiryu, Avalo Pizarro, Vasco Shot, and Sanjuan Wolf. Meanwhile, at Winter Island, fighting the Hard Pirates are Teach, Burgess, Augur, and Doc Q, which means that the only ones left are Laffitte, Catarina Devon, and Kuzan. Thus, it's only the three of them who could be going to Egghead, though it's also possible that it's only some of them while the others are busy elsewhere. Going back to Kuzan though, many people have speculated that perhaps Kuzan himself is part of SWORD, still being a marine but just unaffiliated with them in a deep, complicated covert mission. In this chapter, Kuzan better introduces us to the concept of SWORD, being the Marines' Secret Special Forces, a special secret force within the Marines who act without holding the government accountable for political responsibility. As Kuzan puts an example, to avoid large-scale conflicts, Marines are not allowed to engage against the Yonko without permission from above, above, but sword members are allowed to because the government doesn't hold them responsible, which is why we see them being able to attack the island later in the chapter, being able to rescue Koby without orders from above. So let's go quickly over all the current sword members as well. First of all, we have Koby being a captain within the Marines, though he has already achieved far more fame and accomplishment than any other captain in the series, as we clearly see in his cross-guild bounty being 5 stars, which would put him at around 500 million belly. This is because Koby saved countless lives during the famous Rocky Port incident that took place during the time skip, which earned him the epithet of Koby the Hero, a nickname very similar to that of Garp, the hero of the Marines, as we'll see further compared later. Koby has become famous for his incredible tactical prowess and leadership skills, as well as his kindness in always trying to protect the people, which we see in this chapter as he tries to free the slaves that Blackbeard has captured. It's interesting to note that many of the slaves on Hachinosu appear to be from different races, such as snake necks, long arms, or minks, likely due to their high value in the slave market, but more than anything, it shows to us narratively that Blackbeard is just as corrupt and discriminatory against oppressed minorities as many in the world government. Koby managed to break out thanks to the help of Perona of all people though. This is because Perona wanted to rescue Moria after hearing of him in the newspaper, since Moria is like a father to her, and has raised her since she was young. Though Moria may be a ruthless pirate, he was shown to be legitimately loving and caring towards his crew, treating them like family, as when Blackbeard killed Absalom he was devastated and seemingly refused his invitation to join his crew, which resulted in him being locked up on the island. Thus Perona came here to rescue him, being able to easily infiltrate the island thanks to her ghost powers, and seemingly may have succeeded in doing so as Koby worked with her to get himself and Moria freed, meaning that you should keep an eye on as to what Moria and Perona will get up to. Beyond Koby, Helmeppo is also confirmed a member of Sword, as is Dieth Drake, who held the special position of Captain of the Sword Unit, though it is currently unknown whether Drake is still alive or not, as Prince Grus mentioned being unable to get in contact with him. Speaking of which, continuing with other members of Sword, we have Rear Admiral Prince Grus, who first appeared in chapter 966 cover story, and later at the start of Egghead. He has eaten the Gunyo Gunyo no Mi, which stands for the sound effect clay makes, making him a clay human. It's not clear if he's a Logia or Paramecia, but this fruit allows him to create living golems made of clay, which can then fight in his stead, but can also not be easily defeated, having Logia-like properties. We see this in action with the large marine member we also saw in chapter 966 cover, though this makes me wonder if this is just a copy of that marine, or if that marine we saw in that cover story was a golem all along. In fact, if he is a Logia, this could tie with the idea of Logia awakenings, letting the user turn their element into living creatures, though it could also just be a Paramecia with special properties. Next is Rear Admiral Kujaku, which is the Japanese word for peacock. Much like Grus, again she first appeared in chapter 966 cover, which gives us a good idea of her color scheme. She's actually revealed to be Tsuru's granddaughter, which gets me interested into Tsuru's own personal life outside the Marines. Kujaku ate the Muchi Muchi no Mi, or Whip Whip fruit, which makes her a dominating human who appears to be able to subdue things with her powers, such as forcing inanimate things such as buildings to follow her orders. This might all play into the joke of the M on her hat, which obviously stands for Marines, but is also a slang term in Japanese for those who want to be subdued by someone dominating. And finally we have Commander Hibari, which refers to the lark bird in her name. In case you haven't noticed already, several, though not all, of the female Marines are named after birds. Tsuru stands for crane, Isuka stands for crossbill, Tashigi stands for snipe, Kujaku stands for peacock, and Hibari stands for lark. Hibari is particular as a character as she seems to talk in a Japanese Hiroshima dialect. This is interesting as the only other character in the story to talk in this dialect is Sakazuki, which has led a lot of Japanese fans to speculate that much like Kujaku, Hibari could perhaps be the daughter of Akainu, which would make her tsundere relation with Koby quite an ironic twist of fate. She doesn't appear to have a fruit, but she seems to be a talented sniper, using Vegapunk's GP flower, the solution that turns gunpowder into flowers that was introduced in this cover story. And last but most certainly not even remotely least, we have Monkey D. Garp, the legendary hero of the Marines. Now we don't know for sure if Garp is actually a member of Sword, as Dahl claimed that he needed permission from above to attack Oyanko territory, implying he isn't, but he is the type of person who doesn't listen to orders anyway, and may have gone ahead with the mission either way. After defeating the Rocks Pirates at God Valley, though of course the world doesn't know this was with the help of Goldie Roger, Garp became consecrated as a hero, which many would consider to be the strongest marine to have ever lived, having fought many times against the Pirate King himself. His strength is apparent in this very chapter, seemingly being able to send his ship flying by simply punching the water, a trick he no doubt picked up after seeing the Sunny fly with Ku the Burst, and then delivering one of the most impressive attacks we've seen yet, being Galaxy Impact, with the kanji reading being Fist Impact. In this case, Garp's very fist is compared to a whole galaxy, which makes me wonder if it ties with the whole cosmology of Garp being a D and being able to stand against the celestial gods. Regardless, this title of hero has been inherited now by Koby as well, having come to be known as the hero of Rocky Port, and Garp referring to him as his protege, literally the future of the Marines, making his parallel as Luffy's own Garp all the more evident. But the interesting thing here is how Koby attained his epithet as the hero of Rocky Port, because this chapter actually gives us a tiny yet crucial detail in understanding what actually happened during this famous Rocky Port incident. The Rocky Port incident was a certain event where three key figures clashed. The first was Law, who was credited as the mastermind of the incident. The second was Koby, who saved many lives during this event, coming to be known as the hero for his exploits. And the third is Blackbeard, who thanks to Koby's efforts was able to take advantage of the situation to defeat former Rocks Pirates member Ochoku and take control of Hachinosu Island. But as Pizarro explains, he says they better not damage the town much since they just finished repairing the Rocky Port, which would indicate that Rocky Port is actually the name of the port of Hachinosu Island. And suddenly a lot of things start to make sense, because it explained how Blackbeard was able to take control of the island during this incident, because the incident took place on Hachinosu itself. And even the name finally makes sense, because of course Hachinosu was originally the home base of Rocks de Quebec, hence the name of Rocky Port. Could this infamous incident perhaps give us more light into the secrets of Rocks de Quebec, and what connections does Blackbeard have with him? I suppose only time will tell.